Hi everyone, it's Jessica. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm participating in a YouTube hop with the theme Going Green, and I immediately thought of these two pictures here that I have of my son and his little Michigan State water cup. So a little bit more about the story behind those later and why I chose them for this project. So I pulled a couple of papers that I'm going to use. This is a piece here from the storybook collection from Close to My Heart. This fun ledger paper is from an older collection called Noteworthy. And then this green cardstock is from the Hope and Kindness collection. And with the exception of the ledger paper, both of those are still available. And so I will leave some links in the description box down below. I've also pulled out my black chipboard pieces from the storybook collection, and I'll probably use those as some embellishments as well. So I was inspired by a post that I saw on Pinterest. I believe it was a page maps from March of 2016. And I don't have any dimensions for any of the paper pieces here. So I'm just kind of winging it. I know that I want this ledger piece to be my base page. And then I'm going to cut the other two into some rectangles. I end up having to cut the green cardstock twice because, again, I didn't really know what I was doing. And the first time my piece was a little bit too small. So I'm just kind of doing my best to cut a couple of things up here and start some of these paper layers. Now for this particular hop, like I said, the theme is going green, and we were able to interpret that any way we wanted to. Immediately my mind went to these two photos that have been in my stack of things to scrapbook, because in our house we often say go green because we are big Michigan State fans. I got both of my degrees from Michigan State, and I have several other family members who went to school there, and so we are huge Spartan fans. And I thought, you know what, this is the perfect time. Instead of going green, we're going to go green with this layout. And so I just think that these pictures are going to fit perfectly like this. I'm trying to leave a little bit of space over to the left-hand side because I think I might add some embellishments over there in some kind of a cluster. All right, I felt like it still needed a little something else. There was a lot of brown in my photos, so I pulled out this piece of toffee colored pattern paper from my stash, and I think I'm going to do it something like this with a dovetail coming out the bottom. I tried the other side because that was also that toffee color, but it felt a little bit too busy for me, so I'm going to stick with this side here that has the little tiny plus signs on it. So I'll go ahead and cut that up and try to save a little bit of paper, so I'm going to cut it into two pieces, and then I will take some time to edge distress all of my papers. This green one, I'm going to use my distressing tool to rough up the ends. And then on the other pieces, I'm going to just take my coordinating ink colors and swipe my ink pads right directly to the paper. On this one too, you probably saw that I took my corner rounder and I did opposite corners on there just for a little something different. And that was also what showed in that Pinterest layout as well. So it takes me a while before I adhere anything down on this layout. I was a little nervous to glue things down because, again, I was kind of winging it and wasn't entirely sure what I was doing. And so I really wanted to make sure that I had things figured out before I put anything down. So you'll see me kind of fuss with the placement of things quite a bit here. Another reason I waited to glue things down is because I had in my head that I was going to stamp a couple of things directly onto my base paper as well. So I'm going to go into my stash and pull out a bunch of background type stamps that I have. I've got that background elements, the Life's a Hoot card making, and then this older one called Watercolor Impressions. I really just use the watercolor impressions, but the other two are currently available. So again, I'll leave some things linked in the description box down below. But I want to have a little bit of like splotches and color kind of peeking out from behind my paper layers. So I'm going to do my best to keep them kind of in place so that way I know where I need my stamping to go. I flipped my Versamat over because it has a foam backing on the back side, and that is perfect for stamping on a 12 by 12 layout. So I'm just going to get this inked up and then kind of hold it where I want it and then carefully slide my papers over. And at first I thought, ooh, that was a little bit darker than I wanted it to be, but the ink does dry back a little bit lighter than what it initially goes down. So it ends up looking okay, but definitely my first reaction was, not sure about this mist color. It's kind of dark, but I think it ends up working. So I chose this particular ink color because it is the same as the color of that arrow pattern paper. That is one of the layers under my photos there. So I did a couple of different splatches around, and then that'll also kind of be where I put some embellishments later. And I'm thinking for a title, I'm going to say Sparty or Superman. So the story behind these two photos is that when my son was little, he had this Michigan State sippy cup. It's actually still in our kitchen cupboard, and the kids still use it, even though they are way past the sippy cup stage. And when you would ask him, hey, Alexander, who is on your cup? He would always say Superman, which we thought was hilarious because, of course, it is Sparty. But you know what? Sparty is kind of a Superman, and so that's just fine. And so it was kind of a joke, you know, Sparty was Superman, and that was who was on his cup. And so for the title, I am just going to use some pine colored cardstock. I did glue 2 pieces of it together. That way I can cut my letters out twice and then glue them together, and they'll end up being stacked 4 pieces of cardstock high. Just by gluing those first 2 pieces together, though, it does save me a little bit of extra gluing later, and it's much faster that way. So I'm going to take a strip of washi tape and hold these letters in place. That way I can just pick that whole strip up and move it up on my piece of cardstock and cut a little bit faster. Here you can see on my Sparty letters, I've already glued all 4 layers of cardstock together. Like I said, 2 and 2. And so it's much faster that way, and then it gives a nice amount of dimension on there, and much easier than trying to add a foam tape to these tiny little letters. So I've got Sparty in one font and Superman in the other. And then what I think I'm going to do, I want to stamp out the word or. And so I have got this little tiny white circle, and I'm using my Prairie alphabet stamp, which, by the way, this tiny little alphabet stamp is on sale right now during the month of March, and it is only $5.50. So there is a lot of stuff that is on sale and some really great stamp sets, anywhere from $3 on up. So make sure you check that out because, again, that's one that I use quite a bit, and for $5, you can't go wrong with an alphabet stamp. So I stamped the word or on that little circle, and then I think I'm going to tuck it right about here, and then that'll kind of form that title that starts at the top and then moves down to the bottom. I almost forgot to stamp or to cut out my question mark when I was doing my letters, but I did manage to get that. Okay, I think I'm going to put a little something over here to the left-hand side. So I went digging through my stash and I found this cute little Superboy. And I went ahead and die cut him out twice, well, 3 times actually, but 2 on just blank pieces of cardstock. And then I will glue all 3 of them together so that way he's got some dimension as well. Can you tell that I am running a little low on foam tape in my scrapbooking room? I am definitely trying to get creative on how I am adding dimension to my layout here. All right, so he's going to go over here to the left-hand side. And then I think, I want to add a little bit of white to his cape. So I'm grabbing my white gel pen and just putting a couple of polka dots on there just to make him a little bit more green and white, which are Michigan State's colors. Okay, and then if I turn to the black chipboard pieces on my storybook collection here, I've got a bunch of arrows, and I knew I wanted to use the one that had a curve to it because I thought it would be fun to kind of use the arrow as a way to like pull down the whole title, but I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted it to go. Like, did I want it to point from Sparty down to the cup or down to the word Superman? I wasn't quite sure, but I knew I wanted to work that in somehow. I am pulling a couple of other arrows off of this as well, and then some of the little tiny like starburst looking shapes in different sizes, and I'm going to use those and kind of scatter them around the page. I do decide I move that one curved arrow around quite a bit. I do end up leaving it down by the Superman title later on. But I will go ahead and get that figured out and everything glued down off camera so that you don't have to watch that part right there. But see, it ends up down by Superman. Okay, and then I felt like it was still a little bit blank up at the top. I had a lot of space above my Sparty title. So I just grabbed a scrap piece of white daisy cardstock and I used that same stamp set, and then I stamped out, "Is this?" So now my title reads, "Is this Sparty or Superman?" And I'm going to dovetail both ends and then glue that right there above Sparty, and that will complete my title. At this point, my layout is mostly done, but I was still kind of feeling like it needed a little something else. I didn't really know what. So I went back to that original stamp set that I was using to make my background splotches, and I pulled off, there is this really tiny little one in there that looks like paint splatters, and it is like the tiniest stamp I've ever seen. And I'm going to use some black ink and just kind of stamp it around where I have those splotches in that mist color. And that's going to be pretty much it. I look at it for a while, but I'm like, nope, I don't know what else I want to do. I'm going to call it finished. So thank you so much for being here today and watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, this is part of a YouTube hop around the theme Going Green. And so all the other ladies who are participating will be linked in the description box down below. So make sure to check out their videos as well. And like I mentioned, during the month of March, there is a sale going on my website, the Stamptacular sale. Stamps are on sale anywhere from 35 to 60% off, and that includes ones that come with matching thin cuts, so it is definitely a sale worth checking out. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Happy crafting. Bye.